Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the new channel. Here to help you see the new you. Today, we have two speakers, 20 minutes, thought-provoking messages. This is The Talk. I am Dennis Calamba, the Mr. Delightful of Learning, host of The Talk, presented to you by the new channel and of course sponsored by Wellife. Every family, every home, Wellife. As always, we are glad you could join us for another episode of The Talk, where we feature local and international speakers with messages that educate, motivate, and inspire a call to action. We provide two power-packed learning sessions through our speakers who invest precious minutes of their time sharing their expertise and experience for you, our dear viewers. Today is our 13th live stream. So episode 13. So just so you know, we are live on Facebook and are also live on YouTube. So please do engage us, comment, and watch us live. Well, for our 13th episode, some people consider 13 as a lucky number, but for me, it's just another episode with our speakers for today. So what's this 13th episode all about? I describe Meta-coaching Monday, as I have with me speakers who are also seasoned Meta coaches. Their live stream different locations in the Philippines. Our episode today will provide something of value to those who are currently in the those who are considering coaching as a profession, and those who might want to experience success and benefits of meta coaching. So, Talksters, time to grab your traditional or digital note-taking tools, put your favorite drink and dish beside you, spinning the virtual stage right now. So, let me introduce our first speaker. He is a peak performance and exact coach. He is one of the pioneer meta coaches of the coaching circle, which before the pandemic, monthly in major business centers. He served in the leadership team of the Philippine Institute of Neurosemantics and the Meta-coach in the Philippines. He is the president of Cornerstone Leadership and Strategy Consulting Incorporated. He is also founder of Coaching Hub Asia, which facilitates coaching services by matching companies with the certified meta coaches in the Philippines and in other parts of the world. He also works with worldwide, not only to coach managers, but also to train managers and executives to become coaches. Today on the virtual stage, he will begin our journey so that we can understand meta coaching from the proper perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, Talksters, please welcome Coach Alvin Samson.
Good afternoon, Talksters. Thank you, Dennis. I am very honored to be in the talk at the new channel. This afternoon, I'd like to share with you why you need to become a good coach now more than ever. There is no better time. In fact, this is the best time, my dear friends, my dear talksters, to become coach and to learn coaching skills so that we could help our organizations and help others unleash their peak performance. I'd like to share with you three main points in the 20 minutes or so that we have in this brief sharing of insights. Number one, like I said earlier, this is the best time more than ever to become a good coach. So, on one hand, I could be addressing myself to trainers like me who suddenly experience a disruption in the continuity of our training business. For one reason or another, we are unable to continue face to face training. And if we do face to face training, it would be under certain strict protocols so that the world of training is never the same again. On the other hand, I would also like to address myself to managers who, at this present time, need to work and collaborate under new circumstances with their team members, not within the confines of the four walls of their offices, but virtually. The second point that I'd like to make is that training alone could only do so much in terms of unleashing peak performance. Oh, some trainers might find this a bit off because it might mean for them that training is not necessary. I don't mean to say that at all. I mean to say that there is a place for training. Training is important. Training should continue even under the new normal, whether virtual or face to face. However, training on its own could only do so much in order to raise peak productivity. So that's the second point that I'd like to make. The third point that I'd like to make, dear talksters, is this: we need to become good coaches now more than ever because leaders and organizations need coaching and they need it badly. So, what is coaching? Probably you have undergone some basic coaching program in the past, and perhaps some of you might have even undergone a coach training program. However, it's not uncommon for companies and for leaders to tell me whenever they engage us for coaching that their main challenge in their coaching programs is this: they undergo a 2 day coaching program, but they don't know how to coach after the program. They still are not coaching their teams, and they still could not unleash peak performance through coaching. Did you experience the same thing? It may be because there's a lot of confusion that surrounds coaching depending on where you are coming from. First of all, let's be clear that coaching is a helping discipline. So, in other words, if you are a helpful person, someone who is naturally inclined to come to the aid of someone who is in need of unleashing their best self, the better version of themselves, their full potential. If you have that natural inclination, then coaching may be for you. However, it's good to understand that coaching is unlike other helping disciplines. So, what are these helping disciplines? Number one, training is a helping discipline. So, as a trainer, I do a lot of training services, I deliver a lot of training programs, I collaborate with a lot of trainers to deliver training programs for my clients. And training is a huge part of my business. However, I recognize also that training is limited. Training is unidirectional because it's based on certain designs that have been implemented from one organization to the other. So that no matter how customized training is, it's hard to imagine that it will really affect each of the 30 or even 40 or even 50 participants in a training program. So, training is a helping discipline. And in training, the trainer is deemed as the expert, and the trainee, the student, is dependent on the trainer. Another helping discipline would be consulting. So, consulting relies on the help of consultants. Companies would require the services of a consultant who are deemed to be experts in their respective fields. And usually, it's the consultant who is the expert. Once the consultant prepares a terminal report or a set of recommendations, you either take it or leave it, and you still pay the consultant for billable hours. Many times, companies would confess that the terminal report submitted by the consultants are earning some dust somewhere in the archives of the organization. Why? How many times have I heard executives say, "We have this thick, we have this thick report that doesn't mean anything to me because I wasn't part of the process." And so, on one hand, consulting has a place, consulting has a value, but otherwise, it's also quite limited in that sense. Now, another helping discipline would be counseling. Counseling is very specialized because, in most cases, unless you are a professional counselor, then you're probably unable to really provide professional counseling services. And in counseling, the the client, the one who needs counseling, is fully dependent or largely dependent on the direction or the prescription of the counselor. Sometimes we call them the therapist. Now, counseling has a place, counseling has value. There are people and organizations and teams that will really require the services of a professional counselor. However, in that sense, it could also be quite limiting, not to mention the stigma, which is unfortunate because really a lot of individuals and a lot of organizations will benefit from the services of professional counselors who are there to help and who are trained to help organizations. Another helping discipline is mentoring. Now, mentoring is interesting because a lot of people, a lot of organizations would also correlate or use mentoring interchangeably with coaching. However, let's be clear that mentoring is different from coaching. And in mentoring, the mentee tends to be highly dependent on the mentor, and the mentor is deemed as the expert of the mentoring process and an expert in his or her respective field. All right. Now, that makes coaching really different as a helping discipline because as a meta coach, I found out, I learned that in coaching, it's not the coach and it's not about the coach. It's not the expertise of the coach, but it's the client and it's the coachee who is the expert of his life, the expert of his goals, the expert of his circumstances. So in that sense, coaching is uh, done in such a way that the coach is highly dependent, highly reliant on the resources, on the goals, on the directions that will be set coachee rather than the other way around. So I hope that makes sense for us at this point. So coaching is a helping discipline, and as I said, if you are a helpful person, there is no better time than now than to be a coach. The second point that I want to make is this: coaching is a conversation. Unlike in training, most trainings are considered as lectures. If there are workshops, then there are group workshops, and therefore the individual does not have all the time to really process everything that he or she is experiencing. Unlike in coaching, where the conversation is one on one, and so the individual has all the time within that coaching session. If that's 60 minutes, then that person has all the 60 minutes in the world to optimize the coaching conversation. And it's a conversation that is expected to facilitate, all right, to facilitate the journey of the client from point A to point B. You see, the pandemic has disrupted our lives. We probably started the year with some big goals, some big directions, and that is true whether you are an individual or you are thinking about the organization. Some big objectives had to be put on hold. Some big acquisitions had to be deferred. Some big transitions had to be put on hold. But we cannot pause our life forever. Most of us have realized by this time that our lives have to continue despite the pandemic. So the challenges posed by the new normal, by the better normal, behooves us to continue our journey from point A to point B. And between point A and point B, there are obstacles that we need to identify strategies that are personal to the coachee. You see, um, that's that's the good thing, and that's the value of a coaching conversation. The best performance will come not from the coach, but from the coachee. Unlike in a training context, for example, as a trainer, I am used to giving a lot of tips. Tip number one, tip number two, tip, sir, can you please give us an advice? And here I am wearing my advisor's hat, giving advice number one, advice number two, and advice number three. I really wouldn't know if they will follow the advice. I really wouldn't know if they will follow the tip because I'm talking to 30, 40, 50 people. And in many cases, our participants would say, my manager gave me this advice, but I'm not doing it. Or the manager would say, I have been advising my employee to do this, but he or she has not been doing it. So in a coaching conversation, it's the coachee himself. It's your team member yourself, himself or herself. It's your manager himself or herself that will identify his best strategies for accomplishing his or her objectives. The other thing that we unleash in this conversation are the resources. Now, oftentimes when you ask people about what resources do you need in order to accomplish your goal, they always think of material resources. So, resources such as money, physical space, laptop, gadgets, so that we could work from home effectively, for example. So, these are good resources. But here's what I realize as a meta coach: oftentimes, it's not the external and material resources that make a difference for a person, but it's really the internal resources. I remember now as I speak one time when I was coaching a supervisor, a supervisor who attended one of our coaching programs, and she kept on identifying external resources that she needs, things that her staff needs to do. And then I popped the magic question. All right, I said, so those are your external resources. How about if you look inside? What internal resources do you need? She thought for a little bit. I gave her some time, and she said, faith. And that's when it went transformational for her because she didn't really know why she cried. I wouldn't really know what those tears mean. Those tears are personal, and whatever reason whatever the reason is, the word faith need to do. They only need the coach most of the day of our performance. So when an accountant suddenly stops producing at the level that he is expected to produce, he's submitting reports late, and he's committing errors, minute errors. But you see, in accounting, every minute error could be significant. All right, that accountant did not necessarily forget the generally accepted accounting principles. It's not a question of going through another updating seminar on accounting. Most of the time, something unrelated about accounting gets in the way of delivering our peak performance as an accountant. The same is true for other professions. When a great musician suddenly stops producing great music or would want to but could not, most of the time it's not a question of skill. He or she did not forget the rudiments of music or lyric writing or composing and putting notes together. Skills can be learned, but when something gets in the way, often not related to work, then that's when obstacles become really, really huge in our journey from point A to point B. And that leads me to my third point about coaching. Coaching is not just any conversation. So, on one hand, it's a conversation, it's a very focused conversation that facilitates a person's transformation or journey from point A to point B. However, it is unlike any conversation. In fact, in meta coaching, we define coaching based on what we learned from Dr. Michael Hall, our founder, is that coaching is a fierce conversation. It's a fierce conversation that gets into the heart of things, into the heart of a person's frames and meanings, so that we could invite a paradigm shift for personal transformation. Now, those are big words: paradigm shift and personal transformation. You can't shift paradigms simply by dictating on your employee or on your management team what they need to do. All right? You can't change paradigm simply by writing memos and requiring everyone to comply. You can't see personal transformation because personal transformation is precisely that. It is personal. You can't enforce it, you can't legislate it. It has to be owned. The person who needs transformation needs to own the transformation and needs to choose to transform. And it's only in a coaching conversation, from my vantage point as a meta coach, where that can happen in a meaningful way, because it's in a coaching conversation where a person goes into the heart of things, into the heart of his or her frames and meanings. So, in meta coaching, we say that we coach at a higher level because we don't just coach performance, we also coach peak performance. And peak performance has nothing to do with the volume of work delivered. Let's make that very clear. The peak, PEAK, the peak in peak performance has nothing to do with the volume of work delivered or the amount of sales generated. The peak in peak performance lies in the robustness of a person's beliefs, in the strength of a person's values, in how meaningful the work that a person does is for him. And meaning is very personal. So my meaning is different from your meaning. Simply because we work in the same company doesn't mean that I'm doing this for the same reason that you are. So many managers among you who are watching might agree that a major problem is in aligning our intentions at work. So sometimes we find that our employees are just there for the pay. And so what? That pay is meaningful for him. That pay is not just money, it's not just something that he draws out from the ATM, it's livelihood. It's food on their table. So my meaning is different from your meaning, and you can't impose your meaning upon me. And as a meta coach, I realized to never impose my meaning upon the person that I am coaching, because that person's meaning is so important that I want to be at the full service of that person's goals. So that's how we define the world of coaching, or the conversation, the fierce conversation that is coaching. Now, speaking of meta coaching, I'm just one out of the 40 or so meta coaches here in the Philippines. Some of them are involved in religious ministry. In fact, we have a priest who is also a meta coach. We have meta coaches who are also teachers. And then some of us are meta coaches, certified meta coaches in their respective companies. In my case, I'm a meta coach collaborating with other meta coaches in providing meta coaching services. I'm impressed by the outcome of the meta coaching services that my fellow meta coaches have delivered. For example, um, one national sales director, um, who was at the top of his chart, meaning at the top of his game, decided suddenly stops performing, and then we realized it's because of a very personal issue. The company gave him an ultimatum, so that if he doesn't shape up, then he has to ship out. And he signed up on his own account for 12 sessions of meta coaching. And guess what? After one session, the obstacle is done, and he's back in his game, and he has 11 other sessions to um, devote for his other developmental goals. The last point that I want to say, my dear Talksters, is this: leaders and organization need coaching. Perhaps I can even say they need coaching badly. I'm working with BJ Radomski. He's one of the most sought after meta coaches and executive coaches in Southeast Asia. And he has a database of several coaching conversations that he has done in Southeast Asia. And he realized that out of hundreds of coaching conversations, many executives and many managers are suffering from what he would call the imposter syndrome. So you are an executive, you're a manager, you make a decision, and before you sleep at night, just before you close your eyes, you wonder whether or not you made the right decision, whether it aligns with your values, whether you deliver the clarity that you need, whether you are clear or not about the goal that you are accomplishing, whether the intention for doing it aligns with your personal intention, and so on and so forth. And I would say that a lot of leaders, a lot of organizations would need the services of a good coach. So I'll end there. I'll pause there because anything beyond that might be information overload for you. So I hope that this session had been helpful. And let me invite you, if you are wanting to be a coach, then there is no better time than now to be a good coach. Thank you so much, Talksters.
And thank you very much, Coach Alvin Samson. Of course, he is the man behind Cornerstone Strategy and Leadership Consulting, and of course, a seasoned meta coach. Based on what he shared with us, I'm very sure that you would have a unique interest on how meta coaching can really impact your profession or maybe even your personal life. So, friends, let's pause for a quick break. Please don't go anywhere.
Since I got my new place, I've enjoyed every single day here. Hotel like amenities, attentive staff, resort style living, all in a premium location. So life here is easy and convenient. That's why I invested in another unit. I can earn more, and they can enjoy the very same things I enjoy at home. What a life! So much more rewarding. So much more to life. SMDC.
We need beauty every day. We need power every day. But are you ready?
Ready? Ready.
Beauty is power.
Welcome back to the talk with me, Dennis Calamba. So, of course, this episode is presented to you by the new channel and, of course, sponsored by Wellife, every family, every home, Wellife. Guys, please hit me with the like or follow on Facebook at Dennis Calamba, the Mr. Delightful of Learning, and join our learning community at Learning Events and Resources PHO. And by the way, tomorrow is always the usual boom business opportunity online meeting of Wellife. So please join us by visiting the FB page of Well Life. So before we continue, please do watch out. And of course, we want you to watch out for the schedule of all our shows. And for you to have an idea, I'm going to do a rundown of all the shows that are here on the U channel. So you are invited to watch every single one of them. Let's go. So let us start with, of course, the very first show on TNC, The Big Picture, with Lloyd Luna, shares inspiring stories of notable personalities, live streaming Monday to Friday at 7 p.m. HR Hotline introduces us to the wonderful world of resources management every Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 1 p.m. Fourth project is about life, business, and success stories live streaming from Dubai, UAE. That's 7 p.m., 11 p.m. Philippine time. U-Turn with Carmen Ortega is all about discovering your life purpose, other turnaround stories that streams Mondays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. The Home Buyer is where you hear remarkable stories about building and owning a property, streaming Monday and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Laugh and learn through the puppet stories, Tuesday 5 p.m. Magbenta, bumili at tumulong dahil bukas na ang TNC Marketplace. It's an online night bazaar live streaming every Thursdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. After Shift is a chillaxing show about choices in life after the work shift, Wednesdays and Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Usapang Beauty, about beauty beyond what your eyes can see. It's every Thursday and Saturday p.m. YOLO is for all of us to understand that law is fun and cool too. That's Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Discover your talent and learn others through Win Within Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Want to learn about money and more? Streams live from the Philippines and the US Tuesdays 8:30 Philippine time and 5:30 a.m. California, USA. The world has faced an unprecedented pandemic. It's time to hear positive testimonies straight from those who recovered from the disease. COVID Stories streams Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. What else do we have? Global issues, common interests, learn together across borders. Foreign affairs streams Tuesdays at 10:30 a.m. Healthline streams every Wednesdays and Fridays at 4 p.m. Healthline because health is wealth. Dream, achieve, nurture, and inspire. Tag your kids along and watch the Danny Art Show Fridays at 5:30 p.m. My most favorite, of course, is two speakers in one platform. That's the talk here at the NC Mondays at 12 noon. What else do we have? Of course, we have this. Well, they just premiered recently, but now they are gaining traction. So I'd like to also mention some of these shows. We have Tech You with the tech evangelist Marvin Salazar, Fridays 2:30 p.m. We also have Cybernext Wednesdays at 12 p.m. We also have Awesome Day with Mr. Awesome, Alian Barcelona, Mondays at 2:30 p.m. What else have I been missing? Of course, we have the show for women at work. Okay, and we also have GGNO, which is probably coming soon in our live stream. GGNO is Good Girls Night Out. So, what else do we have? We also have TNC original shows, such as One Day, a 30-minute show, which profiles unique and inspiring stories of real people. It alternates with TNC Town Hall, which is co-hosted by TNC founders Lloyd Luna and Apple Manansala. This is the platform where we talk to you, our valued audience, on feedback about our shows on TNC. So there you have it, Talksters. Please do follow our channels on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, I'm also extending this invitation to all of you who are watching right now live and who will be watching later on in the replay. So allow us to help you hashtag see the new you. All right. So many shows here on TNC. It's really like Christmas. So many gifts, so many inspiring shows for all of you. And with that, it's time to introduce our second speaker. She is an international certified meta coach with credentials recognized by the International Society of Neurosemantics. That's ISNS, and that is based in the USA. And ISNS is in over 40 countries. She has completed her training certification through the Advanced Management Program of the Southeast Asia Business Studies, or SEABS, of the University of Asia and the Pacific. She is a graduate of the Pontifical University of Santo Tomas, UST, with a degree in Bachelor of Arts, major in philosophy, a master's degree in theology, major in pastoral ministry. Master's in Business Administration. She is a candidate at FEU Makati. She is also a licensed financial advisor, a trainer and coach specializing in communication, career planning, leadership, personality development, customer service, team building, relationship management, and change management. And that is over a span of 20 years. Training and coaching services to both corporate and private clients to help them make significant breakthroughs in their professional and personal lives. A founding member of the Speaker Circle, she is often invited as a resource speaker in various forums and conventions and abroad, and is featured regularly as a speaker at the Career Growth Series at the Asian Management AIM. That's in Makati. And finally, she is also a radio host of Radio Inquirer's DZIQ 990 AM in their inspirational segment, Kakaiba Ka. As we will continue our discussion, our journey on meta coaching, hopefully she'll be able to share more personal stories of how meta coaching has helped countless individuals and organizations attain peak performance. Talksters, welcome to the virtual stage, Coach Myya Rosales.
Thank you, Mr. Delightful Dennis Calamba. Such a pleasure to be here at TNC, the new channel. And good day to all Talksters. It's my honor to be a featured speaker here. And coaching has been one of the passion of my life. And for for this short time that was given me, I'll talk about the essential qualities of a good coach and what makes coaching conversation really good. No, especially now that there are many coaches out there, and many people are seeking also for coaches. No, so what? How can you say that the coach is really good or not, or what makes a coaching conversation good or not? So that will be our topic for this morning. Okay, so first let me just share with you how I got interested into this profession. Okay, when I was in my first year in the university, there was a time wherein our communications professor asked us to come up with the strips of paper, different colors, that we have to give to our classmates. So you give the yellow strip to someone that you find friendly or you find easy to trust. The blue strip you have to give to someone that you feel safe to share your secret to. The third strip, which is red, you have to give it to someone that you enjoy the company or you enjoy talking to. So after that, she asked us to stand up and then give away those strips of paper, so which we did. Afterwards, she asked us to sit down and then with a question, okay, who among you got one strip of paper? So we raise our hands. How about two? Okay, some of our classmates, some of my classmates raised their hand. How about three? Okay, so few hands were raised. Four, okay, even less. Five, no one raised their hand. But the teacher continued. Six, seven, no one still raised their hand. Eight, nine, 10, so she reached 10. Okay, that's it. No one, that's all. And then somebody raised her hand and said, Ma'am, I got 11. And that was me. So I got 11 strips of paper. Now, don't get me wrong. During that time, I was not trying to be the popular girl in the classroom. I'm just a simple provinciana who went to Manila to study. And I was surprised myself to receive that many strips of paper. And our professor had to ask my classmates, so what made you give your strips of paper to Maya? And their answers are common. So they said that they find me easy to talk to, they find me uh, someone who really listens to them, and they enjoy my company. So that actually began my desire to, to help people and to really be there for them, especially when they need my help. Now, here's the thing, no? When I realized that those qualities that they mentioned, looking back, no, they're also the same qualities of a good coach, if I may say so. And also the qualities of a good coaching conversation, wherein the coachee or the person being coached, when he or she sits down with the coach, the person will feel safe, the person will feel listened to, and the person will feel that he or she can trust the person who is coaching him or her. And to be able to arrive that in that position, it requires certain skills, which I will share with you this morning. And that's why I like the definition that Alvin gave earlier about coaching. Coaching is a fierce conversation that gets into the heart of things, no? To help the person do a paradigm shift and achieve personal transformation. Now, let me just focus on the word fierce conversation. So when we say fierce, it doesn't mean that the coach has to be fierce. Like in the sports coach, wherein the coach would say, "Okay, guys, do this." So that's another type of coaching. In meta coaching, when you say fierce conversation, it means being totally 100% committed to your coaching, being there for the person, being committed to the person's goals, and doing everything in your power to help that person achieve his or her goals. So that's what we mean by fierce. There's deep commitment. And in order for this to happen, it is necessary for the coach to acquire the necessary skills that he or she needs to have. So keep in mind though, before we go to the skills, now keep in mind though, especially for coaches out there or aspiring coaches, there are actually many kinds of coaching conversation. That's why it's very important to get into training, to practice, not to be with fellow coaches in order to hone our skills. And before we can do the coaching process, we have to identify first what kind of coaching conversation am I having with this person. Is it a coaching conversation wherein the person needs to have clarity about what he or she wants in her life? Or is it a decision coaching conversation wherein there is a need for them to create strategy in order to arrive at a decision? And then the third is it a planning coaching conversation wherein you have to help them make step by step strategies or actions, okay, to achieve a certain goal? Or is it an experiential coaching conversation wherein they have to have that certain sensory experience, maybe through role plays or doing patterns or resourcing, like what Alvin mentioned a while ago? Or is it a change conversation wherein the person would want to change, for example, a bad habit and change it into a productive habit? So how do you do that? And or maybe it's also a confrontation conversation wherein the person needs to find that courage or that skill to resolve a conflict, or probably it's a mediation, okay, conversation wherein a resolution has to be done. So there are many types of conversation, and it takes certain skill for a coach to know what kind of conversation is fit for a coachee. And this is where the coaching skills would come in. So the task of the coach, as Alvin had mentioned, is to bring the person from point A to point B. But it isn't as easy as it sounds. Okay, because in order for a person to go from point A to point B, he has to hurdle many obstacles because between those 2 points there is a block in the middle. And this block actually comes in different shapes and sizes for different people, and they are unique. And the task of the coach is to help that person overcome that block so that he can move from point A to point B. Without this block, coaching is not necessary. But the key here is to help the person identify what the block is and to be able to change that block probably or go around it. That's the crucial part. Okay, now in coaching, we do not just only coach to performance. Okay, we also coach into the meaning, okay, the higher meaning. Because more often than not, here's the thing, okay, most of the reasons why people fail at work sometimes has nothing to do with work. And I've coached managers after managers who are talented, intelligent, skilled. And then the moment they got into the managerial position, they fumbled, okay? Because they put a lot of meaning into the position. Will they like me? Am I doing it right? So there's so many things going on here, okay? So as a meta coach, you do not only coach at the level of performance, you also coach at the higher level, to the meaning, okay? To the person's inner game or the internal universe of that person, okay? And we are able to do this using the coaching skills, okay? Now, what are those? What are those coaching skills? Okay, most people. Okay, before we proceed there, no, most people they look at, for example, when we say meaning to performance, no, we look at, for example, sports competition as something physical. But actually, athletes would always say that the sports is more than physical, it's mental, it's emotional. So when they step into the arena, they bring everything. So if the mental, okay, their beliefs, their meanings won't follow them, the rest will also not follow. Okay, so that's why I remember when we coach a fencing team, okay, the Philippine fencing team actually, that was a time wherein they felt like their opponents are better than them. They have their opponents have better equipment, better coaches, better uh, uh, better in everything. So they have difficulty getting medals or winning competitions. But after coaching them into the meaning or even challenging their inner game, is that what you believe? That your opponents are better than you? Okay. Then things changed. They started winning competitions after competitions. So we coach not only to the performance, but also to the meaning. So what meaning drives your performance? Okay. So that's one of the skills of a coach. No? So we'll talk about at this point the 7 essential coaching skills. Okay. So if you are thinking of becoming a coach, then this is for you. Or if you're looking for a coach, then this is something that you want your coach to have. Okay. So number one, listening skills. Not just simple listening, okay, but active listening. We'll talk about this later. We'll break it down in a little while. Supporting skills, okay, wherein you will build rapport or wherein you will make your presence felt, okay, amplify that. Quality or precision questioning. And then we have the meta questioning skills or asking into the higher level, giving feedback and receiving feedback, and also eliciting states or inducing states. Now, given the time that we have, I will only tackle the first four. No? So one is listening skills. Listening. Okay. A lot of times people will say, I'm listening. But the question is, are you really listening? In meta coaching, we have identified at least 10 listening sub skills. Okay. So this includes being able to hold silence, okay, and allowing the coach to have more airtime, being able to listen to and even repeat or acknowledge exact words or phrases that the person is saying, to be able to track their words and gestures and then mirror it back to them, okay, and even the ability to just look at them, okay, having that eye contact, okay, and not be very, very personal and allowing ourselves to be in the present moment and expressing even our commitment to our coachee that, hey, for this next 30 minutes or so in this coaching conversation, you have my 100% attention. And it's very critical, for example, in listening that we actually hear and even give the exact or precise word that the person is using. I'll give a very concrete example. There was one person that I was coaching, and she actually said that um, she feels like she's going to be separated from her husband because of some problems. No? And she kept saying, I'm afraid I'll be very separated. She was very open at the start. And then I said, so magiging separada ka. Okay. When I used the word separada, I noticed immediately that her face changed, her physiology changed, and she began to lean back. And as a coach, I caught that and said, I noticed when I mentioned the word separada, you did this gesture. Okay. What's going on there? And then she said, I don't like that word and I don't use that word. So for her, to be separated is different from separada. It has a negative connotation for her. So it takes a certain skill for a coach to catch that. Sometimes we tend to paraphrase things. But in coaching, paraphrasing doesn't work because it might have a different meaning to the person that we are coaching. Okay? Next is supporting skill. Supporting skill is the ability to create a safe environment wherein the person will be able to build trust and rapport. So you do this by doing sets of interpersonal actions wherein the person will feel that you are one with them. So it may include physiology, okay, matching the gestures, even the tone, the tonality, the speed, or even the pacing of the person. So if the person is slower than you are, then you have to match that. Okay. So matching is very important. And the supporting skill is usually used in sales. And the principle behind this is that people will trust people who are like them. Okay? So the goal here is not to manipulate the person, but the goal is to show, okay, in our physiology, in our tone and our voice, that we are one with the person. And that's the time that the person will feel safe, safe enough to express his thoughts, his emotions, his feelings, his or her beliefs, etc. And this takes practice. That's why I would highly encourage aspiring coaches out there to be part of groups of coaches. There are many out there. Okay, you can do your research. And feel free also to join our coaching circle. We have coaching practices every now and then. So we will like to invite you also to join so that you can practice your coaching skills. Because like any other skill, okay, coaching takes practice, but we have to practice the right way because practice does not make perfect; it makes permanent. So our goal is not just to make it permanent, but to make it the right way. Okay, to do it the right way. So the next is meta questioning. So what is meta questioning? This is the distinct quality of coaching wherein we ask about the importance of or the significance of something or the meaning behind it. Because people sometimes are not aware that they're actually holding a certain frame in their mind and somehow this affects their actions or their decisions. No? And without these questions, without asking them why this is important to them, the questions or the tasks will remain mechanical and disconnected from the person. So that's why in meta coaching we use what you call the well-formed outcome pattern. Actually, there are many patterns in meta coaching. In the neuro-linguistic programming, there are around 400 patterns or tools. In neurosemantics, we have around 200 patterns. So patterns, think of patterns as tools. Like for the doctors, they use stethoscope or scalpel or what else? Forceps to diagnose or treat a patient. So similarly, in coaching, we use different patterns or tools. So one of the important tools that we use in coaching is what you call the well-formed outcome pattern. It's a series of questions, precise questioning wherein we ask the coachee in order for them to gain clarity of the things that they want. Like for example, I was coaching the CEO and she wanted to expand her business. But she was so full of fear because she doesn't have the resources, she doesn't have the manpower, etc. So we break it down and still she was filled with fear. And I have to ask her, so why is this important to you? So when I asked her that question, then suddenly her face changed because it's the legacy that I want to leave for my children. And all of a sudden, the excuses that she mentioned earlier dissipated. And our coaching conversation turned into planning and strategizing. Okay. And now she is already beginning to build her empire. So as coaches, our task is to help our coachee to be able to see that they all have the resource within them to be able to get to the goal or aspirations that they want, to be the better version of themselves. It is a great joy to be a coach, but it takes skills and practice. And I hope for aspiring coaches out there, let's not stop learning and honing our skills because we do need not just good coaches, we need great coaches to change the world. With that, I bring you back, Dennis. Thank you, Talksters, and looking forward to seeing you online.
Okay, thank you, Coach Myya. Thank you for that short but sweet sharing that make a good coach and a good coaching conversation. Talksters, hang on for the recap. We will be right back after these reminders. And we're back. Dennis Calamba here, the Mr. Delightful of Learning, host of the talk, presented to you by the new channel and of course sponsored by Wellife. Every family, every home, Wellife. Guys, again, please do like or follow me on Facebook at Dennis Calamba, the Mr. Delightful of Learning, and join our learning community at Learning Events and Resources PH, and check out Wellife's Business Online Opportunity Meeting. That's tomorrow, where our very own Lloyd Luna will be sharing something of value. So here we go for the recap. Of course, coaching, it's been long this time, but then again, I can just summarize it in terms of, just a few points. Coaching really is a skill that needs to be practiced, on a regular basis. It's not just something that you learn with your head and then, it sticks with you and then you can easily do it. I really do believe that there are some good coaches, but the great coaches are those who really draw out this peak performance, just like what Alvin mentioned, and the transformational change that happens in an individual. Of course, that is also echoed by Maya. So I really do believe that coaching will have its place in the corporate setting. It also has its place when you bring it to government agencies, companies. God knows, we do need coaching right now for our leaders. I'm saying this in a general sense because we cannot really claim to know everything. We cannot really claim to say that we are very good in all of the things. So we really need the presence of that person who will really either, let us remind us how we're doing. Maybe that person who will challenge us to do more than what we usually, do or achieve. But at the same time, that person who will be constantly in our ear until such time where we can be independent enough, okay, to determine where we need to go from this particular place and how we should go about in doing it, and at the same time to be able to continue the journey, the process of just getting better as a person and as a professional. And I think that person really is a coach. So props to all those trainers and speakers who are also doing coaching, and of course those coaches who are also doing training and consulting. Okay, in a manner of speaking, because they really complement, these roles complement each other. I'm the type of person where I am more of the and not the or. So it's really not a choice of do I do training or consulting or coaching, but as much as we need to learn the rudiments and the specific skills of all these three roles, because these three roles combined will benefit the individual and the organization in the long run. So there you have it for my recap. But before I go, ladies and gentlemen, this is just an invitation. Of course, our speaking community, the Philippine Association of Professional Speakers, will be having its first ever virtual or digital conference. This is the PAPSCon 2020, and that will be on October 15 and 16. Yes, that will be this week. Of course, we will be having free plenary sessions. Of course, we will broadcast it through StreamYard, of course, live on FB. But later in the day, in the evening, we will have the paid tracks. So if you have, some sort of budget in your pocket, why don't you invest in learning with us? Of course, we will be featuring our very own seasoned PAPS community members. Of course, they are also speakers, they are also trainers, and they are also known in the speaking circuit for their, expertise in several topics. So I hope that you can join us as we have this PAPSCon 2020. Our theme for this year is TOP, PAPS on Top, Total Online Presence. So I really do hope that you will join us. Of course, this is really for the community, for the PAPS community members, but of course, we are extending this invitation to everyone who has the heart and the mind to learn, especially with us. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, let us give our best applause for our coaches, Coach Alvin Samson and Coach Myya Rosales. You deserve it. Thank you for opening our minds and our hearts to the coaching coaching profession, especially the meta coaching profession. So I do hope that you were able to pick up some valuable insights and learnings from our power pack presentations. Thank you very much for joining us on episode of The Talk. This is the 13th episode, of course, here on the new channel. This has been your host, Dennis Calamba, the Mr. Delightful of Learning, leaving you with my constant encouragement to keep on learning and keep on growing. See you again next Monday as we open the virtual stage yet again with two speakers, 20 minutes, thought provoking messages. This is The Talk. God is good all the time. Goodbye, everyone.